A 30-year-old Sudanese man has faced court in Belfast after being accused of a vicious stabbing attack that's left a 40-year-old man with serious injuries. The attack triggered violent riots, with hundreds of anti-immigration protesters taking to the streets of the city, with cars and even homes set on fire. For more on this developing story, journalist Liam Tunney from the Belfast Telegraph joins me now. Liam, thank you so much for your time today. Now, firstly, the alleged perpetrator has been in court. What's happened there? And also, what do we know about the background of him, aside from the fact that he is from Sudan?
Well, this is Hadi Aludid. He's a 30-year-old man, and his address given in court is Dunkern Avenue in the north of the city. As you say, this incident arose from Monday evening at around 10:30 p.m. Police were called to that area following reports of a male being assaulted with a knife. We understand since then the Home Office confirmed that he's a Sudanese national. He travelled from the Republic of Ireland up to the north. That's how he made his way here, and he has been granted asylum in that way. But he appeared in court today via video link. And some of the facts were outlined as to what happened. So police were called to that area 10:30 on Monday evening. They say they removed him, they arrested him. He was then taken to hospital. Now, they outlined some of the injuries suffered by the alleged victim in this case. That person's lost his left eye. He has sustained damage to his right eye. There were deep cuts to his face, and there were also lacerations on his back. Now, that's the outline of the injuries that were given in court. We then heard that the accused was taken to hospital because he had a hand injury, and it was during the hospital where he made a comment. He said, "I've killed someone, I don't know if they're dead." And he then went on to make a further comment to one of the staff there, who we understand to be a radiographer. He said, "I'm going to kill you." So he's been charged with 3 charges. One is the attempted murder. The second is possession of a blade. And the third is the threats to kill towards a member of the NHS staff.
Yes, so can you tell us, I know that there have been riots that followed, but how shocking has this incident been, across Northern Ireland?
Well, I mean, any spate of rioting is shocking. This first arose, there were messages went online. Obviously, Monday night, there was a furore of online activity where various people were posting and reacting to it. And there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation flying around about the incident. Also, it then emerged on Tuesday. There were lots of online posts advertising protests in certain areas of Northern Ireland, and they were advertised as peaceful protests. And indeed, some of them were. I mean, we noticed up in the likes of Coleraine and Ballymena, there were people who came out to protest peacefully and did so, appropriately. However, there were lots of areas in which that protest turned violent, and I mean, it became widespread. I mean, there were reports of a glider bus being burned out in Belfast itself. There was also reports of sporadic violence and disorder in other parts of the country, and it eventually progressed to the burning of homes, and families have had to leave their homes because of this. They've had to be rushed out and rescued from those homes. There were threats to journalists throughout the course of the evening. There were political representatives on the ground trying to prevent those threats. They were threatened too. So it is a shocking. It's a shock to see this riot. However, we've been here before. In fact, almost a year to the day, we had that intense riot in Ballymena, which lasted for a number of days. And that was sparked again by one particular incident. And there were a lot of people come out on the street to protest peacefully, I should say, for that incident. And again, there was violence throughout as a result of that. And we've also had violence the previous year. So we're now in a situation where for 3 years in a row, we've had these race riots. These riots are linked to specific incidents. They kick off, and we have this sporadic violence. So although it is shocking, it is something we've seen increasingly over the last number of years.
Yes, Liam. So we've been seeing pictures of a fairly sizable group of men wearing hoods, black hoods, and in masks. Do we know that if these group of people who were involved in the violent aspect of these protests were these from organized groups, or do we know where these groups are from?
Our Chief Constable for the PSNI, that's John Boucher, he was asked about this morning. He said at this point, investigations are ongoing into that. So at this point, he had no concrete information on that, but it is something that has been looked into in terms of previous rioting, and it is something that the police will look into and try and get to the bottom of. But at the minute, their focus is on dealing with this disorder, and they have called in what's referred as mutual aid or mutual support from other police forces across the UK. So that message has gone out, and that support should be available to the PSNI should there be any further disorder.
And other concerns, I mean, there are clearly anti-immigration sentiments there, but also, from the events of Southampton as well with the killing of that student. Is there a sense perhaps that, the migrant community, there might be reprisal attacks on the migrant community in Northern Ireland?
I mean, there's more than a sense. I mean, that's actually happened overnight. We've had migrant families who, in some cases, are begging their neighbours to take them in to avoid that. We've had reports of people going down streets looking for houses that belong to those migrant families. So that's no longer just an abstract threat. That's something that's actively happening, and that's also something that happened last year during the disorder we saw in Ballymena. We had people going from street to street looking for those houses in which those migrant families lived. And it's something that's become a feature of this kind of disorder or rioting, that is something that happens. You have mobs of people going from street to street, actively looking for these homes and these businesses that belong to the migrant community.
Okay, Liam Tunney, we do have to leave it there, but really appreciate you giving us your insights there from Belfast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.